Hi, and welcome to Ignite 2020. I'm Nancy Tandy, the go-to-market lead for business applications here at Microsoft. Today, I would like to introduce you to one of our Dynamics experts, Julian Sharp. Julian is an MVP, and for the last 14 years has been a Microsoft certified trainer here at Microsoft. He will be presenting the introduction to Dynamics 365 for us today. Welcome, Julian, and we're looking forward to this presentation.
Thank you, Nancy. So what I'm going to talk about today is the evolution of the Microsoft Dynamics business application. So you get an overview of what Dynamics fundamentals is and what the Dynamics applications can do. Then we're going to talk about what you need to know to learn or begin your learning journey around Dynamics. And then we're going to give you some resources that you can take away and start learning and finding out more about Dynamics 365. I like, first of all, to put in a little bit of history about the Dynamics platform. We've had an evolution over the years from when we had mainframe-based systems managing maybe just customer accounts. And as we've grown into sort of the MIDI server and microcomputer years, we've evolved into database marketing where we're able to target customers. And they've evolved into, in the early 90s, into separate business applications around customer relationship management and enterprise resource planning, and also applications known as Salesforce automation. And that sort of carried on. That's where I got involved, actually, around the year 2000, implementing CRM systems. And that went on into the early 2000s. And we sort of transitioned then into cloud-based CRM and ERP systems. And Dynamics 365 is the latest evolution of that into a broad sphere of applications, cloud-based, to support your business. So we've been through these are not new applications. They've evolved over a number of years and added quite sophisticated capabilities to them. And what we've ended up with now, if you go to dynamics.microsoft.com, for instance, and have a look at the breadth of the Dynamics business applications, you'll see something like 37 separate apps listed, covering a wide range of business needs, such as sales, marketing, finance, commerce. And these are a family of applications designed to meet your business needs in lots of different ways. And a large part of the platform is the ability to use data to make intelligent decisions. These applications work together. You can use them together, separately. They're adaptable to your needs. You can use them on mobile devices. And what's really great is they're based on the Microsoft Power Platform, which is a platform for building business applications. So you can extend these applications into areas not fulfilled out of the box Microsoft products. These three key streams for me are really important because not every business is the same, and you need to be able to configure and adapt your applications to meet your specific business requirements, to tailor them to your needs. And the apps can do that. They can match many needs that you have, but if there isn't a need, you can always go and extend them. Or there are also third-party applications you can purchase. As well as that, as I mentioned, we have the Microsoft Power Platform. If you want to build your own extra little solutions, for instance, lots of applications need timesheet management or maybe quality control. Those sorts of little applications you can build on top of Dynamics really start filling in and really start gaining you all the value that you need to really meet your users' requirements. So when we start with Dynamics 365, we have this fundamentals learning approach where we need to look at the whole breadth of the Dynamics application. So we grouped them into these four areas. There's what's known as the customer engagement apps. The apps very much aimed at organizing your customer engagement, your customer interactions. We have a whole set of apps around your finance and supply chain and managing your back office functions. What's been a great part of the story of the Dynamics apps over the last couple of years is the embedding of artificial intelligence into the applications, enabling users to do the next or the best action. The artificial intelligence looks at all the data we gather across all the applications and tries to guide the user to what to do next, or gives them guidance on which customers to focus on or which leads or opportunities need the most attention. We have mixed reality as well. the evolution of HoloLens into being able to share and collaborate remotely with people. So a person at one site can see what another person is, and they can work together to solve problems. These are functionality that's built into a lot of the Dynamics apps. And as I mentioned, we have the Microsoft platform components. It's not just the Power Platform. We're integrated with Azure, with Microsoft 365 to really create great collaboration experiences for our users, to enable them to work the way they want to do where they are. So they want to work in Outlook. For instance, I spend most of my time in Dynamics working on my mobile phone in Outlook on my mobile. That's my sort of base client that I use most of the time for most of my Dynamics activities. Let's start looking at the customer engagement apps to begin with. I've got 5 listed down here. We'll just go through these and just give a little summary of what they're capable of. I haven't got that long. I could easily spend days on each of these. There's lots of functionality here that you will find interesting, but let's just summarize what they are so you get an idea of what they're capable of. So when I look at the sales application, it's very much aimed at the seller, the person who's trying to sell to the customer. What we're trying to do is give them the ability to collaborate with their peers, with their managers, and with customers. And through that, gather information to enable them to have a proper personal interaction with the customer. So we know who the customer is, we know what the customer needs, because we have all that information to hand. We don't have to go hunting around for it. And as I mentioned, the AI is starting to give us insights into what to do next, to prompt us as a seller what to do. From my manager's perspective, the AI is starting to tell me how my users are performing, where I should concentrate maybe my coaching time. It gives me performance indicators and performance trends that allow me as a manager to truly be a coach to my sellers rather than an administrator of my sales team. And as a customer, you get the right level of information. You know what you need. You can communicate well. The seller knows who you are. And therefore, it's a win-win on all sides. That's what we're trying to do with Dynamics 365 Sales. The marketing app is very much tied with sales, although you don't need to use it with it. But the idea of marketing is to generate new leads for sales that are properly ready for the sales team. They are already been through a number of different automated processes. We've nurtured them, we've gathered information, we've automatically sent them information and dealt with them over multiple channels, whether it's by web or by phone, by SMS, through surveys, to gather information, gather what they need to do, allow them to qualify themselves in. So when they get to sales, the salesperson knows exactly what they're interested in. They can have a proper conversation. You don't just go, oh, I've got a web lead here. Somebody's filled in a web form. We've got a bit of detail. Let me call them up. No, we've properly qualified them in an automatic way, with actually some very highly sophisticated capabilities tracking what people are doing. And actually, that's just a small subset of what we can do with marketing. I actually started off in implementing CRM, is actually implementing customer service systems in call centers. So what we have now with customer service is very close to my heart. The ability to manage customer service, customer support through multiple channels. We now have an omni-channel engagement where effectively customers can come in, they can start on one channel, they can start on the web, transition to email, then transition to automated agents or phone. And it's all seamlessly. They get the same experience no matter which channel they use. As an agent working in a call center, I can see my work. It's distributed to the right person at the right time. We've got full SLA management, lots of KPIs so I can know what's going on. And the AI is coming in here as well, giving me proactive insights as to what to do next to help me be more productive and actually solve my customers' problems without having to call them back, which is where we lose a lot of effort in our service areas. So again, AI is pushing it here. And the most latest bit of functionality is virtual agents, the ability to have chatbots to automate, to extend your capabilities as a service team, to answer all those standard repetitive conversations. You can use bots to do that, but then also escalate to a human if needed. And as well as that, the management allows me to track what's going on. We can see how many agents, where they're dropping off. It allows you to really tailor your customer service experience for your customers. Right, last one we're going to look at is field service. One of my favorite applications, actually. One of the apps that I think has the most chance of really making massive improvements into an organization. And what it's about is delivering service to customers. And we have this mantra: we have to deliver the service to the right customer at the right time, with the right technician, with the right skills, with the right place, with the right parts. And field service enables us to do that. It allows us to schedule the right person for the job, the right technical resource who's got the skills, and it gives lots of functionality to enable us to do this. And this is highly scalable to thousands of resources if you need it. I mean, by resources, I mean people or equipment or anything else you need to deliver that service to customers. When we look at the finance and operations apps, as I said, these are sophisticated applications that have come from the ERP, what used to be known as ERP, but they're now separate. They now do more than just ERP. So we'll look at finance, supply chain, and a couple of these others and see what they actually can do for you. Now, this looks a little bit scary, doesn't it? The finance, all this functionality, but essentially finance is about enabling your organization to make the right business decisions in real time. You don't have to wait for a month to get the monthly reports and then decide what you're doing. Finance enables you to keep a real-time track of what you're spending against what you budgeted, tracking and all your assets, your revenue, your sales, what you pay your vendors, what your cash flow is. And again, AI is coming here. It has predictive AI in the cash flow side, and also predictive in terms of who maybe customers who might be slow paying you. It does that as well. So it's a very sophisticated, very fully functional, multi-currency, multi-language, multi-region, with all the support for different legislation around the world. Very sophisticated finance functionality. And going alongside that, you often implement them together, is the supply chain management. Now, don't worry, if we're coming on the Dynamics Fundamentals training, you don't really need to understand all the lines here, all the little circles we had in the previous screen. What you really need to do in your initial learning is understand what the basic capabilities are. So we would look here at maybe the master resource planning, the master planning for my production. I'll look at my logistics and inventory management, and we'll just understand maybe the purchase ordering process. But really, supply chain management, it covers everything around your whole supply chain, from inventory through to purchasing materials. It handles both discrete and non-discrete manufacturing, as well as a number of other scenarios that you might come across in your organization. Human resources is about managing your people, from recruitment through to onboarding, through to them managing their pay, managing their leave, absence, their all the other benefits they might have, and giving users an employee portal that they can see where they are, and managers can see who works for them, what's their status is. It's a nice bit of application. And what's interesting, I actually see people now implementing multiple apps together. I see people implementing sales and finance and human resources together. That's quite a common one. Or maybe field service and supply chain management together. When you start using these apps together, you start really getting benefits and value. I don't know if you're aware, but Microsoft runs one of the biggest e-commerce sites in the world, with Xbox and the Microsoft Store, as well as having its own retail stores around the world. And what Microsoft has done is they've taken that learning and their experience and built it into an application called Dynamics 365 Commerce that enables you to build a single system to manage both your retail stores and your e-commerce with single inventory. And if you ever experience poor breakdown between an on-premise retail store and their online store where they don't talk to each other, this is quite revolutionary. It does that, but also gives you loads of other nice things, such as customer loyalty and allowing you to really focus your sales. And again, it links into dynamics marketing. You can start tying those together to really highly target your customers and give them particular messaging. It's a very, very powerful bit of functionality, Dynamics 365 Commerce. And look at Business Central. Now, Business Central, if you look at it, it has all those functionality I just mentioned. It's got supply chain, it's got finance, it's got as well as some sales and service. But what Business Central is, it's a single solution for small to medium businesses. But small to medium businesses can be quite large organizations. So it's actually very sophisticated functionality that can run a lot of your organizations. And it ties in with dynamic sales very nicely. So it's a single point that you can just use. It has a lot of functionality. It has its best place, its best targeted customers, but it's an option for you. Right, let's just reflect on some of the AI mixed reality apps. One of the ones I want to talk about a little bit is customer insights. What Microsoft did, I said they've embedded AI into the apps, into sales, into finance. And that's great. But what they've also done is built their own other separate applications. And one of the best is customer insights. Because if you're adopting Dynamics, you may adopt sales and finance, but you're going to have other systems. You may have your purchasing system. You may have your web system collecting customer information. What Customer Insights does is it allows you to bring all that data together to create a single view of the customer that you can then use in your other apps. You can use the Customer Insights data in sales, in finance, in marketing to really target customers. I, for instance, can build a targeted customer segment in Customer Insights from all my web interactions and my sales interactions and my finance interactions, and then target customers through marketing on a lot of very specific or very interesting ways that I couldn't do before just on my Dynamics data. So it's a really, really interesting bit of functionality. I thought I'd just show you Sales Insights. I mentioned it in sales. This is what a manager can see. So you can see, okay, this is as a manager, I can see what my team's talking about, what customers are mentioning. Because I didn't actually talk about this. We can actually monitor telephone calls and pick out what people are doing. It does the text to voice and sentiment analysis on my call recordings. So that's really useful as a manager. I can actually tell what customers are thinking and what the trends are. And I can then intercept that and deal with that before it becomes a problem. Another example of AI is in the fraud system, which works with commerce and finance. So we can actually detect potential fraudulent situations, fraudulent transactions, flag them up before they become a problem. And again, this is just leveraging, again, what Microsoft has done on its own platforms, its own sales on e-commerce sites. So a really great way of leveraging Microsoft learning and knowledge for your business. And as I said, mixed reality, if you get a chance, we can use this. There are separate mixed reality apps, but the apps could also work with field service, with supply chain management, and with sales. And you don't need a HoloLens device. You can now do some of the functionality just with a tablet device or even a phone to effectively show people what their products might look like or show what the issues might be and share that information and collaborate more effectively, especially in times like this where we can't all be together. And the platform compares. Dynamics apps are great, but what they really start to get much better traction, especially with users, is the fact that I'm using my applications in tools I'm familiar with, in Outlook, in Teams, I don't have to copy and paste emails because my emails are immediately available within my Dynamics applications because it's linking to Office 365. Because Dynamics also runs on top of Azure, it's highly scalable, and you can really start to use the power of the Microsoft Cloud to go and create better solutions. We've got integration with Word and Excel for producing nice output and actually analyzing our data, not just with Excel, but also with Power BI. And when I do the teaching on this course, we go over the security and GDPR aspects because that's everybody's concern. Where's my data? How does it access? How secure it is? We cover all of that. And so you're clear on what your responsibilities are because we have this shared responsibility model when you're in the cloud with the customer and end users responsible for certain parts of it, but Microsoft responsible for other parts. But we'll talk through, for instance, what the GDPR implication and how those dynamic stats can help you meet your GDPR requirements. Right. I've reached the stage where we're at any questions? Nancy Tandy from Microsoft.
Thanks, Julian. Yeah, we do have a couple questions. We want to start with the first one. I'm new to Dynamics. Is the fundamentals the best place to start?
Oh, certainly. I actually strongly believe if you're involved in a Dynamics implementation, either buying it, selling it, or just an end user of it, or even if you're a technical person with lots of relevant experience, fundamentals are a great place to start because it gives you an idea of the breadth of the application and their capabilities. So you won't make mistakes and maybe going off and doing the wrong thing because you're unaware of what the capabilities are. So I often go into companies who are adopting Dynamics and I train their entire team. And it's always a really interesting conversation where we start actually getting people to really think about what they want out of their Dynamics applications.
Yeah. Is Microsoft Learn free, and do I have to log in to use it?
Dynamics Fundamentals, Microsoft Learn is free. You can access it on a browser. You don't need anything else. You don't have to log in, but if you do, it actually keeps a track of what you've done so far. Because the idea is you're meant to consume it in little bits, as in up to like 2 to 3 minutes, up to 10 minutes at a time, or even up to half an hour. So if you log in, it keeps track of what you've done. You also get points. You see, you get 13,800 XP points for completing the Dynamics 365 Fundamentals Learning Path, and points make prizes, and you get little badges which show your progress, and you can share those badges with your colleagues as well. So this is what I've done.
That's great. So that kind of leads into the next question about what is a learning path.
Okay, think of a learning path as a class you might take. It's all the information that you need to get details about that particular topic. So a learning path has a series of modules around the topic, anything from 3 up to 15 or 17. So the Dynamics Fundamentals has 15 modules. So the idea is they're broken down into small pieces of learning that are self-contained. And you see learning paths for Dynamics, and they're also targeted at different technologies, also different roles. So there's the fundamentals very much aimed at the beginner, but then if you go into, say, I'm an administrator, there are roles for administrator, learning paths specifically targeted at different roles to help you target your job. So if you go into Learn, you can filter by your role, your technology, and get the relevant learning for you.
Great. And then let's talk a little bit about how to prepare for the exams. Is there training content aligned to these exams?
Yes, there are 2 ways of learning for the exams. There's the Microsoft Learn I just talked about. There is a full learning path completely aligned with the Dynamics Fundamentals exam. So if you were to go through the learning path, you'd be in a good place to take the exam. The other way is through instructor-led training, and you can get to this page from the exam page. If you go in the exam page, you'll scroll down, you'll see the link to the learning path on Learn, and also you'll see how to learn through instructor-led training. So if you take it with somebody like myself who delivers this, and you can go have a look at the course, and you can see there's a find a learning partner to find the relevant delivery partner in your country. And there are learning partners all over the world.
Great. So I have another interesting question. What is the difference between the fundamentals, role-based, and specialty certifications?
Okay, as I mentioned, there are different roles, and what we actually have is different levels of certification. So there's the fundamentals level, and then there's also then associate and expert level, which are higher level exams. So typically your associate is your first sort of technical level exam, aimed at sort of maybe your database administrator or your developer or your functional consultant. And then there's expert levels where you typically have to take 2 or 3 exams to get to the expert level. But there's also a specialist. There are certain topics very much aimed at particular products. So there are 2 specialty exams at the moment. One's for IoT developer, which is actually a really interesting exam and course, and also running SAP on Azure, which is a massive subject. And I suspect we'll see more speciality exams as we go along.
Great. Do these certifications expire?
Right. Most role-based exams, all role-based exams, associate, expert, specialty, expire after 2 years. Fundamentals do not expire.
Great.
So they last forever.
Yeah.
And so I just want one thing. Even though they expire, you still can claim them. They don't disappear off your transcript and your badges. They just don't. And there'll be ways of upgrading to keep them up to date. Because I think this ties back to the fact that the technology is moving so fast that you need to refresh and prove that you're still up to date every 2 years.
Yeah. I think that leads us into another good question. If I'm a seasoned IT professional, why should I care about Microsoft certifications?
Well, I like to tell a story of this. I often see people, often go in to solve Dynamics implementations, and I see people developing systems like they did 10 years ago. And there's been so much change and so much evolution in the products that you don't develop them in the same way. You don't build them, you don't use the same methods or approaches. So I think even if you're a seasoned person, you should get certified, because being certified forces you to learn all the new things and to get up to speed and the best ways of doing things. So for me, that's my message. You need to stay current, and getting certified is the best way because it forces you to go through that learning process and get up to speed.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I think we have time for one more question. Are there any practice exams available?
Yes, there are practice exams available through Microsoft's partner MeasureUp. They're the only approved practice test partner, and you can often they're supplied when you do learning as partners as well. They'll give you a course and a MeasureUp self-test, practice test. And for me, they're really good because you can run them in training mode where you get an exam-like question. And they are developed, just to make clear, they're developed separately from the exams, so they aren't the same as the real exams, the Microsoft exams, but they are written in the same way. They're developed in the same approach. They're just developed by separate people. That's very clear. But when you run them in study mode, it actually tells you why you've got the wrong answer. It gives you links and information to explain why. So they're actually a really good way of really honing your knowledge.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's all the time we have today for Q&A. On behalf of Julian and myself here at Microsoft, we wanted to thank you for joining our session today, and we hope you have a great Ignite 2020.
Thanks.